As the war escalates in Israel, hate heats up in the United States.
Jacksonville beach crowds produce multiple shooters.
Denton honors a trans suicide victim.
Broadcasting live from the University of North Texas, this is ntTV News at Noon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining ntTV News at Noon. I'm Meredith Billings.
And I'm Chris Cordova.
Gaza's future is looking grim after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu defended his plan yesterday to invade Rafah. Over 1 million civilians are already trapped there and starving. But despite the U.S.'s concerns, the Prime Minister says he has support.
To go to a sister democracy and try to replace the elected leadership there.
The fact that
Promises to evacuate the civilians, but U.S. officials are skeptical. It is challenging to get resources in, and getting people out could be even harder. A floating dock is being built to get to Rafah by sea, but White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby says the process is slow and with completion up to 8 weeks away. However, Gaza does share a border with Europe, and the European Union announced $8 billion worth of support yesterday for incoming refugees.
New Jersey police are looking into a potential hate crime. Posters of Israeli hostages held by Hamas were found vandalized. Their faces were found crossed out with black spray paint. The posters were hung up as a reminder of the Hamas attack on Israel last October. The Newton police chief came out to publicly condemn the vandalism. Residents of the neighborhood are concerned for their safety following the incident.
Russian voters gathered at the polls last Saturday in a silent act of protest for the election that increased Putin's time in office. CNN's Matthew Chance has the story.
Another flash of defiance in Russia's presidential vote. The opposition called this midday against Putin. Supporters gathering at polling stations across the country in a show of solidarity. It's what Alexei Navalny, Russia's late opposition leader, had urged before he suddenly died.
Well, the Russian authorities say that anyone who attends an unauthorized protest will be dealt with severely. But you can see it's just after 12 o'clock here in Moscow, and a lot of people have turned out at this one polling station to cast their ballots. It's not a protest, but it is an indication of just how many people here are heeding Alexei Navalny's call. Why have you come now to cast your vote?
Because they come too.
And you wanted to see all these people?
Yes.
Yeah, we wanted to come together and see each other in person.
Why did you decide to come now at 12 o'clock?
You know why? I think everyone who stay in this queue know why.
For 3 days, Russians have been voting in an election which President Putin was always certain to win. But scattered acts of disruption have exposed division. In several polling stations, dye was poured into ballot boxes to ruin paper votes already cast. Across Russia, a number of voting centres were hit with arson attacks. But officials insist these deeply flawed presidential elections, in which the opposition wasn't even allowed to stand, were free and fair. Compared to the last presidential vote in 2018, we received only half as many complaints, Russia's chief human rights commissioner tells state television. I don't remember such active, deeply monitored elections here, she adds. But the defiance of some Russians has also been exceptional. The simmering discontent in the Kremlin's tightly controlled Russia briefly boiling up to the surface.
Despite protests on social media and at the polls, Russian President Vladimir Putin will get another 6 years in office after winning re-election with an 88% majority vote. But many were shocked when Putin named Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny in his victory speech. Shortly after his opponent's death in a Russian prison, CNN's Matthew Chance has more from Moscow.
Extraordinary to hear Vladimir Putin mention Alexei Navalny's name, as you referred to then. He's never uttered it in public before, and so everyone sort of took a step back when they heard him say it. He also went on to confirm sort of reports that have been circulating for some time now that actually Putin, he had agreed to swap Alexei Navalny, or at least agreed to discuss swapping Alexei Navalny in a prisoner exchange in the days before the late opposition leader died in his Arctic penal colony. But of course, he then died and that didn't happen. But yeah, an extraordinary sort of post-election set of remarks from the Russian president, Vladimir Putin. He got an enormous proportion of the vote, something in the region of 86.5%, according to the figures from the Russian Election Commission, a big turnout as well. He said that kind of figure indicated that gave him overwhelming support in the country, and he said that the grandiose plans that he'd set for the future of the country, they'd work as hard as they could to try and realise those plans. And he talked specifically about the aims of the Ukraine war, what Russia calls, or what Putin calls, the special military operation. So he's going to try and push forward that, and also to strengthen the Russian military. And so Putin viewing this election really very much as a mandate for him to continue to press into Ukraine.
Meredith, it felt so weird to be wearing my hoodie over spring break.
Hopefully you can leave it behind today, Chris. Erica, can you give us some good news?
Unfortunately, there's no good news. For this weather conditions, we're experiencing temperature at 48 degrees, and it's feeling like 46 right now. And for tonight's conditions, we're experiencing a temperature of 39, and we're experiencing wind coming from the north at 2 miles per hour. And for tomorrow's conditions, we're experiencing a temperature of 67, so we do have a little bit of hope. And that's all I have for current conditions. I'll be back for the full weather report. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Erica. Chicago enacted a maximum 60-day stay at migrant shelters on Friday, with the first 3 evictions having taken place over the weekend. 250 migrants will be evicted in the next 2 weeks and over 2,000 over the month of April. The city says the policy will make room for new arrivals, but not everyone is in agreement. Worried about how those evicted will find housing or work, some Gage Park residents whose field house has transformed into the shelter disagree with the shelter's existence at all. For now, families with school-aged children are able to apply for 3 30-day extensions, giving parents the option to keep their kids in school until the end of June. Individuals with certain medical conditions or recent exposure to measles can also apply for an extension.
Next spring break crowds bring death to Jacksonville Beach.
And Hollywood is promoting gun safety through one of its most action-packed shows. Stay with us.
1, 2, 3. Mom, Dad, I got it. All right, look up here. 1, 2, 3. Mom, Dad, I got it.
You're right, Mom. I have.
Has this ever happened to you?
My bike! My bike is gone!
Stolen bikes are an epidemic sweeping college campuses across America.
What am I supposed to do?
It's quite simple. The We Mean Green Fund has partnered with the UNT Police Department to offer free bike locks to any UNT student with a bike. Just show up with your bike in tow and ask.
Now I'll never lose my bike ever again.
Enough worrying. Get your bike lock today.
3 different shootings occurred in Jacksonville Beach, Florida, Sunday evening, leaving 1 person dead and several injured. The downtown district and bar areas have been shut down until further notice. The Jacksonville Beach police chief told us about what was going on leading up to the shootings.
Anywhere from 250 to 400 juveniles in their late teens arrived at that location. Because of the intelligence information, we proactively had officers assigned to this group. This group engaged in boxing matches, fights, and other incidents, and Jacksonville Beach Police Department had to take action and disperse the crowd. When the crowd was dispersed, that's when the shootings happened.
As of now, police are still searching for the suspects. TV shows and movies are making strides to improve gun safety on set, on screen, and at viewers' homes. CNN's Josh Campbell tells us how a gun safety advocacy group is influencing the set of SWAT for the better.
LAPD, drop the weapon!
Gunfire, danger, high energy. It's another episode of the hit CBS show SWAT.
Hey, baby.
But something in this scene is different. Can you tell?
Your day get any better after I saw you?
No, actually, it got worse, if you can believe it, but we did save a mother and her child, so it made it all worth it. How'd the rest of your day go?
Did you spot it? Look again.
Mother and her child, so it made it all worth it.
Safe gun storage. On that same Sony Pictures set, SWAT showrunner Andrew Detman says in the past, the officer may have just set his gun on the counter. But now,
gun safe opens, he puts the gun away. It's nice and safe before he heads back to talk to his wife. You know, it's a very routine part of his life. Come home at the end of the day, store your weapon so that it's safe now that he's got a toddler in the house.
That's a game changer.
the new approach is one of the successes of the Show Gun Safety campaign launched by advocacy group Brady United, which is now partnering with studios across the country. After first meeting at a White House roundtable with actors and writers last year, their initiative calls for no guns on kids' shows, rethinking whether guns are needed in adult shows, and if they are, showing proper storage and handling.
We lose 8 kids a day, a uniquely American epidemic, to family fire. That's because of firearms in the home that are not safely stored.
While guns can be politically polarizing, this show believes encouraging the safe storage of firearms shouldn't be controversial at all.
This is not part of that larger gun debate. You know, our audience is very much on both sides of that issue. This, to me, I hoped anyway, seemed like this is just a common sense issue, right? Stow it safely, don't leave it out in the house, you know, and if they see their favorite characters doing it on a regular basis, maybe that influences them some way.
Okay, settle, here we go. Quiet, please.
Inside another soundstage, we watch as the SWAT crew film scenes with star Shamar Moore. We've heard statistics that more people look up to their favorite actor than a lot of politicians.
Well,
What's that like?
I'm not Taylor Swift, but she doesn't carry a gun, as far as I know.
You're not in Congress. Moore told us he's a gun owner too, and with a young daughter both on and off screen, modeling safety is a badge he's willing to wear.
I'm a big badass Hondo, and I get out there and I take down bad guys, but when I come home, I own a firearm, but it's safe, it's protected. If I can use my platform to affect change or affect optimism or to get people to listen, that's an honor. I'm humbled by it.
Along with safe storage, SWAT is also curbing the amount of gunfire on its show.
The director had an automatic weapon in mind, but maybe we can pull that back and just have it be a few shots so that we don't have all this gratuitous gunfire with no consequence.
We got to start normalizing this across the board.
Our favorite shows and films have the power to influence our safety and our wallet. This month, 2 movies are breaking box office records and one hasn't even been released yet. Dune Part 2 is a 2024 American epic science fiction film directed and produced by Denis Villeneuve, starring Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya. While the first Dune movie of the series released during the pandemic, limited theater attendance and ticket sales, Dune Part 2 has grossed almost $500 million in its first 10 days in theaters. This is more than the entire original film series made during its theatrical run. The Idea of You, an intergenerational romance set to release May 2nd, starring Anne Hathaway, has already been viewed over 125 million times, making it the most viewed trailer of any streaming original movie.
The video sharing site YouTube will now be requiring content creators to label videos that were made using artificial intelligence. With AI usage on the rise, the company is looking to make an effort to be more transparent about content that could potentially be misleading. AI-generated content can often look realistic, so now creators will have an option to label their content as artificially generated to avoid misleading their viewers.
That new Dune movie looks great. I wish I lived in the desert right now.
All this rain and cold has been getting me down too. Erica, what can we hope for? Can we hope for some warm weather this week?
Unfortunately, weathers are going to be pretty chilly as of right now. We're seeing weathers ranging in the 40s. We even have our highs in the 50s, but it's still going to be pretty cold. And then looking towards these states, we have weathers ranging from we have weathers ranging in the 40s, 50s, and we even have a 39 right over here. So we're probably going to have to wear a jacket and then a puffer jacket right on top. And then looking at the 7-day forecast, we might have a little bit of hope. We see weather's going from the 60s all the way to the 70s, and then we're right back at the 68. So be expected to experience some cloudiness as well as some storms. It seems like we have a lot of storms over here at Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, even starting the week as of next week. And yeah, so just be fully prepared as to what we have right now, and that's all I have for the full weather report. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Erica. It looks like we'll have some pretty decent weather for the events on campus this week.
Our live shot reporter Julia Ham has the details on student life here at UNT. Julia, what's going on this week?
Thanks, guys. UNT is ready to welcome everyone back from spring break with some exciting new events. Firstly, this week is Commuter Appreciation Week. Each day, there will be events held by different UNT resource centers such as the Off-Campus Student Services and the Health and Wellness Center that celebrate students who commute to campus. This afternoon, the Health and Wellness Center is holding an event called Bob Ross and Chill right here at Chestnut Hall, where students can pick up a free painting kit. But don't worry if you can't make it to that one. There will be at least 2 events every day for the rest of the week held at different locations on campus. I know I'll be going to get my free paint kit right after this. And in addition to that, the UNT Student Services Center is making gaming with your friends more relaxing than ever. Starting today, right here in Chestnut Hall, a program called Dungeons, Dragons, and Therapy is combining the classic group fantasy game with therapeutic techniques and anxiety coping skills. During gameplay, students will use role play and different scenarios to practice and develop social skills, and also learn different ways to overcome their anxieties. This is not a new concept in therapy, but it is the first time UNT will be offering this event. So if you're interested, make sure to go to the UNT Student Services website to get more information. That's all I have for today. Let's take it back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Julia. Coming up, a victim of suicide is remembered in North Texas.
We'll see you on the other side of the break. I was looking.
Hey Alex, this guy on the internet says he wants to give me money.
That sounds suspicious.
What do you mean?
Typically, strangers who promise you money on the internet have their own best interest in mind. They often use bounced checks, which will disappear shortly after depositing, but not before they've asked for some money in return.
So he does.
A local organization is doing its part to keep the city of Denton clean by taking part in the biggest community improvement program in the country. ntTV's Alejandra Becerra tells us what they're doing this Saturday. Alejandra?
Thanks, Chris. Ever thought of how our beautiful Denton stays clean? Well, you can thank our dedicated residents to participate in an annual cleanup. Denton's biggest cleanup is happening this Saturday, called the Great American Cleanup. I had the opportunity to talk to a few involved. Take a look. Would like to participate in keeping Denton beautiful, they are taking walk-ins from 8 to 9 a.m. Speaking of beautiful, the cherry blossom trees have reached peak bloom in Washington, D.C. This means 70% of the cherry trees lining the National Mall and Tidal Basin are open. This is the second earliest bloom on record since the earliest in March of 1990. That's all I have for today. Back to you guys at the desk.
If you've been on social media the past few weeks, you may have seen something about the death of Nex Benedict. I went to a candlelight vigil for Nex, organized by Denton community leaders.
And most of all, trans kids deserve to grow up.
Tributes echoed the pavilion of South Lake Park in Denton as members of the community gathered to pay their respects to Nex Benedict.
We are here together in community to witness our grief.
The 16-year-old was originally believed to have died from trauma suffered from a physical altercation in his school bathroom, but the Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office has ruled Nex's death a suicide.
Nex's death was brought on due to violence and bullying because of his identity as a trans man.
Candlelight vigils for Nex, just like this one, have been popping up over the past few weeks. They're meant to honor Nex and rally the community behind a call to action.
Don't let them forget about Nex. Don't let them stop holding people in power accountable for failing Nex.
But speakers didn't just talk about Nex. Current events such as the conflict in Israel and the popular social media account Libs of TikTok were all discussed at the vigil.
What happened to Nex is a natural consequence of the violent rhetoric of the far right, and I feel that Nex's story especially really highlights that violence.
Organizers wanted the focus to be not only on Nex, but on political change as well.
The more that you see these vigils, hopefully you'll remember that we're in pain, and that the difference will be that you'll then maybe participate in hopefully your local ISD or your local municipality or whatever to make a difference.
The U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights is investigating the Owasso School District for potential civil rights violations. But in the meantime, Nex's memory lives on in Denton.
I hope that people who came now feel that they are in this community and that the community is here for them and that they have value and that they're magic.
It looks like America's favorite pastime has made its way to South Korea.
Well, as far as sports go, I never made it past T-ball. So, Jay, you're going to have to tell us what's happening on the field.
Do you have your passport? If so, you can follow the MLB for their world tour. Games are taking place in Asia, Europe, Mexico, and Latin America. The Dodgers will play and the Padres will play various Korean professional teams before facing each other to open the season in the Gochok Sky Stadium. If you're watching from home, you'll have to wake up early as they play March 20th and 21st at 5:05 a.m. Stay glued to your screens, as when we come back, I'll have March Madness and Madness at the American Airlines Arena. Coming up next is sports on North Texas Television.
The do's and don'ts of the Pole Rec Center. See that man over there? Please do not hog weights. Instead, do this. Another important part is having an attentive spotter. See, here is an example of a non-attentive spotter. Instead, do this. Now we head to the track, which should be pretty easy, just it's important to pay attention to the way the track goes. Remember to wipe down the equipment after you're done using it. The towels are provided by the gym, so it's pretty easy to wipe down the equipment when you are done. Thank you for using the Pole Recreation Center.
The Mavs won in memorable fashion against the reigning NBA champion Denver Nuggets, 105-107. Luka Doncic, in typical fashion, led the Mavs in scoring with 37 points to go along with 10 rebounds. But the hero of the game was Kyrie Irving, as he had 24 points, 9 assists, and 7 rebounds. But we have to talk about the final shot. Roll the clip. Tied at 105 with 2.8 seconds left, Kyrie catches the inbound, throws one up over the reigning MVP, Nikola Jokic. Left-handed sky put is good for the bucket with no time left on the clock. Truly amazing shot right there. On to the mean green. The hope for miracles this month, as well as the men's and the women's teams have been invited to the NIT and the WBIT. The men's team was victorious last year, winning the entire tournament, and look to repeat. They'll start their journey against the LSU Tigers tomorrow in Baton Rouge at 6 p.m. The ladies look to add on to their already historic season as they'll play in the inaugural Women's Basketball Invitation Tournament. First-year head coach Jason Burton will lead the team against TCU in Fort Worth Thursday. Go Mean Green! Also in Denton is a basketball team that has no Cinderella story, rather a well-oiled machine looking to continue its path to the championship. That team is the Texas Women's University Pioneers, and since COVID, they've been one of the best teams in Division II in the entire nation. Let's see what makes them so great. The pandemic changed everything, including the view on the Texas Women's University basketball program.
14-day quarantine, so I think at times we played with 7 or 8, but that year I was so proud, and I really felt like that team laid the foundation for just overcoming adversity.
Overcoming adversity isn't the only foundational traits that her recruits have.
Being accountable, and then just coming in every day, trying to be consistent as possible and as hardworking as possible.
Like, bought into it, and that just helps us succeed even more. And she set that standard high, and so it's kind of challenging, but it's a good challenge for us to try and just go achieve it.
Not only is being a dominant force on the court due to great coaching, but it also helps when your coach is a great mentor as well.
I mean, yes, do we love to win? Yes, but we want to really make sure that we're growing every single day and throughout the year and hitting those landmarks. But we also understand that adversity is what makes us better. And so all of our players, and starting with those two veterans, have bought into that.
Coach Gilson alone, without being a coach at all, she's an amazing person. And I look up to her a lot for her faith and just the person that she is.
The love isn't restricted to the team, as the Pioneer faithful come out strong as well.
My grandparents brought me here to so many games when I was younger, so just being able to build that standard and build that bar, and then even create a community. Like, our fans this year have been amazing. And
our fans, how our faculty, staff, students have come out to support us. And last year in Frisco, I almost got chill bumps, when they're reading the starting lineups, because the Pioneers were packing Comerica Center.
Thank y'all so much for y'all's support all year long. We truly appreciate it, and it means so much.
T-Dub continues their run tonight against the UT Tyler Patriots. If you want to join the bandwagon at Kitty Winter McGee Arena, tip-off is at 7 p.m. This has been Sports with Jay Lathan. Back to you at the desk. Adios.
See you later.
Thanks for joining ntTV News at noon.
Join us again tonight at 6 and tomorrow at noon here on North Texas Television.